And good afternoon, everybody. It's Friday the 10th of July. Thank furlough, it's Friday once again. I hope you are all well and you're fit. And I don't know how many of you watching today. You haven't all gone off on holiday or gone to Spain or something rather than all this now that you can do that. You really should be sitting here waiting to hear what my guest has got to say today, who, as ever, is Jacquie Mount. Hi, Jacquie.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be back with you again. It's been a busy week.
Yeah, it has been a bit, hasn't it? And
yeah.
We're getting some stories coming through, literally hot off the press at the moment. We're about to put the newsletter out. We hung on for a little while because the first of HMRC's actions have now been taken against furlough fraudsters. And the first one's been caught for £495,000. So that's not a small fraud. But what we're just saying now is HMRC are going to levy fines against bookkeepers and accountants who fail to notify of a false claim.
Yeah.
Which is what we've been saying. You can't turn the other way on this one.
No, there's I got an email came out from HMRC yesterday in answer to some correspondence going on around my group, and a lot of it's still not publication, but yes, they're looking at who's responsible, and if you don't go and you don't correct your claim, there's going to be it's going to be responsible. But I'm just waiting for the actual detail to be released of how that's going to work, and it's not been released yet. So
no, at one stage, yeah, I think at one stage they were saying, oh well, if it's only a small amount, they might look the other way. Apparently, there is no de minimis. They're just going to they'll go for the low-hanging fruit first, as the marketers call it. But yeah, I think that we'll be seeing some people thrown out to graves if we're not careful.
Yeah, I think we've spoken about this a lot since day one of this, and I think our members have been very careful about keeping their calculations and their justifications. And if it's a genuine error, then yes, that's not going to be an issue, but it does have to be reported. But the very small amounts that are differences between what you've claimed and what HMRC calculator has claimed, providing you can justify it, still don't think it's going to be a problem. It is the false claims that are going to be that they're going to jump on. Yeah,
absolutely. But they are seriously going after people who have made false claims. So if the bookkeeper, you've let somebody get away with something and you haven't done anything about it yet, you need to do something pretty quickly. I would also talk to us. Let's get it on your database, on your record that you've said something to us. But telling us is not good enough. It's got to go to the authorities.
And I can't remember the number of days that they're going to allow for you to report this and change it, but it's not actually that large. So people do need to make sure that that they've not done anything that's way out of line.
Yeah, but I think if you've got something to report, now is the time to report it. Even if it's late, it's better that you go to them than they come to you. So, I trust our bookkeepers implicitly. I'm sure none of you have slipped into this. But we must have had over 100 calls from people who've had slightly dodgy claims being requested of them. And in every case, we've said absolutely not. And we are told that our bookkeepers went away. And in many cases, you've lost a client. But yeah, it's better than losing your livelihood.
I think it's probably right. Yeah, that's absolutely right.
So we need to be very careful on that. So, Jacquie, I've got all sorts of things to talk about here about what's going on for the rest of the week, about other things. But big news, chancellors seem to be throwing more money at everybody.
Lots of things. As ever, though, before I get into what the chancellor announced, just a couple of reminders. It's the 10th of July today. The 13th of July is the last date for the first SAYES claim. So any members and their clients who haven't yet claimed for that first self-employment grant, you have until the 13th to claim that. And the second claim opens on the 1st of August. So just a reminder that by this time next week, you'll be past the deadline for claiming the first one. The claims under this second CJRS, which started on the 1st of July, is now being made. Now, I haven't actually spoken to anyone who's done a claim under the second claim yet. So if anybody has made one and you've got any comments to make on it, we'd be grateful to hear it if you're online. I was reading in one of the forum articles yesterday that what HMRC are actually asking is if you're doing the claim for less than 100 employees. So you're actually putting your information in manually rather than uploading your spreadsheet version. They're asking you for the usual hours and the number of worked hours, and they will calculate the number of furloughed hours. Now, last week we went through this. Actually, I'm quite pleased. It's exactly how we worked it out as per the calculator. And I think people were asking me if I could let you have access to that spreadsheet. Now, I've done quite a lot of work on it, and it will be available if it's not already, hopefully. And basically what it is I've managed to program it so that in the monthly claims, you only have to put in 4 bits of information. You have to select the month, so July, August, September, October. You have to put in the monthly wage, the normal monthly wage, the normal working hours, and the number of hours worked in each week. No, the number of days and the number of days worked, sorry. And then what it does is it automatically calculates it for you. And actually, if you select August, September, October, the NIC and the pension calculations come out as 0 automatically. So hopefully, I've tested it quite a lot, it should work. There is also a weekly calculator there, but that's not quite so specific. What I've done with that is I've actually detailed all the weeks of the year in groups of 7 days to show you exactly how many days you claim. But there is a news article, my technical update coming out in the newsletter, explains how it works. So hopefully it should be all right to have a look at. So check if you're making the claims of the information that you're asked for. You will probably need to check the claims, use the calculator as well. It's neither the calculator nor my spreadsheet works if you're using variable rates. It's all on a fixed rate. The programming was just too complex to do it apart from that. However, there's been quite a lot of correspondence on the agent forum this week about minimum wage, and we did talk about this. And the consensus is that if you have someone on variable hours and minimum wage and 0 hours contracts, you are using your normal hour number of working hours as we calculated right back in day 1 of this, back in March. But you're paying them the new minimum wage for the work that they're doing for you, but the old minimum wage for the furloughed hours, because that's based on as it was. The furlough calculation hasn't changed. However, there is some people have rung HMRC and have actually got the answer that no, you have to put it all through at the new rate. And then they rang again and they got a completely different answer from HMRC. So that one's been bumped up the line. So if we get any more information, we'll get notes out to everyone. We'll get something up on the website, or we'll tweak it out to you, or tweet it out to you, or whatever we do. So that's, yeah, you can tell I'm not social media savvy, can't you?
Well, I was just going to say, tweak, that's a new one. I haven't come across. So, but look out for it, folks. Tweak is the latest one. Yeah.
Okay, so the Chancellor's statement. Okay, quite a lot in there. On the face of it, looks fantastic, but there are some issues. Now, I want to have a look at the first one. I want to have a look at is what's happening in the leisure area with the reduction in VAT. Now, on the face of it, this seems very, very straightforward. If you go into any restaurant, bed and breakfast, hotel, from, I can't remember the date that it's happening, I think it's Wednesday, you will only pay VAT at 5%, which on the face of it sounds fabulous because us as consumers will pay a lot less. However, a lot of these, and I have to thank one of our members, Terry, for going through this with me. We've had a couple of conversations about this. There are some issues if your clients are on the flat rate scheme, because actually, if they're on the flat rate scheme, they are going to, the business looks as though it could be slightly worse off through this VAT reduction. Now, we did some calculations. I worked through some calculations with Terry this morning. And basically, with the flat rate scheme, you charge your 20% VAT normally. You calculate the gross income that you've got, and then you work out your percentage based on, say, if it's a restaurant, it's 12.5%. If it's a pub, it's 6.5%. Now, pubs aren't going to be affected as much because the VAT reduction is not based on alcohol. It's food and non-alcoholic drinks. And we worked out that if you look at £1,000 net sales. At the time you add the VAT on and you do the calculation, with the 5% VAT, for every £1,000 that you sell, you're actually going to be £131 worse off. Now, neither Terry or I, we've worked this out several ways and it keeps coming out to the same answer. So I've actually emailed HMRC about this just to get a confirmation. So you are going to have to look, if you've got clients in that area, you're going to have to look quite carefully if they're on flat rate scheme, whether in fact they want to stay on the flat rate scheme. But don't forget, this is only for a short period of time. And if you leave the flat rate scheme, you can't come back into it for 12 months. So this is something that all our members who are in this situation are going to have to look at each of their clients. Oh, hang on. Yeah. Sorry, I was just looking at a question that's come in. You're going to have to look at each of your clients and work out what's the best thing to do. The other issue that we were talking about was the 50% voucher. Because again, it sounds great if you're going out to eat, you'll get 50% if you work Monday, if you go and eat Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. But it's not on alcohol. And some bright smart pointed out, if you go into voucher codes, you can normally get the same voucher anyway, so you may not be saving anything by going through this. But think about the practicalities on behalf of the little cafe or the restaurant. You get a bill, you take 50% of the food and the non-alcoholic drinks to a maximum of £10 per person. Now, that means you've got to take off the alcohol off the top. Then you've got to look at how many people are in the party, work out your 50% and maximise it at £10 per person. So there are quite a lot of calculations that need to be done at the point of payment. So good luck with that one. So we'll say, although it sounds fascinating and fabulous on the face of it, be very careful with the calculations. And also, we don't yet know anything about who can claim the vouchers back and how that's going to work, because that's all going to come out in the detail when HMRC have caught up with the Chancellor's statement. So
they've got to register on the scheme, haven't they? I believe.
Yeah, I think so. They've got to register. They may choose not to take part in it.
Yeah.
Maybe by next week we'll have some feedback on how that's working.
Okay.
So looks great on the face of it, but when you're actually in there working out the figures, you need to look into it in a slightly more detail. Stamp duty has gone up from 125,000 to 500,000. If you're into estate agents and things, there's going to be an effect on that. Remember that first-time buyers already have a limit of £300,000, so it's only the extra 200, but that's coming in. And there is a job grant for businesses who have had furloughed workers and who bring them back now and keep them in employment until the end of January. And they have to pay them the lower earnings threshold each month, which is £512 per month. And if they pay them a minimum of that amount each month, they will get £1,000 in February, which takes them up to January, which is for 3 months because it covers October, November and December. So if you think about it, what the grant actually is, it's the minimum lower earnings limit for 2 months that you're getting back. A lot of people are saying that with what they're paying and what they have to pay staff, it may not be worth keeping the staff on for £1,000. But again, businesses are just going to have to look at what's best for them and what they want to do. I think that's the main ones. I've got a couple of things on work placement schemes. So again, grants coming through for work placements for young people, grants for taking on new apprentices, £2,000 per apprentice plus £1,500 if the apprentice is over the age of 25. That's over and above anything else that you're going to get anyway, because there is some other bits of funding around for that. And the other one I picked up was the grants for green homes, so that you can apply to have things like your insulation upgraded and things. So all those are grants that helping businesses that you may come across, and they will all be dealt with in the same way as any other grant. What we don't know yet is whether they're part of the de minimis scheme. So I'm sure we're going to get a question on that, and the answer is
at the moment we don't know. there's quite a lot of flesh to put on the bones as yet,
Yeah.
but and you know, it's tinkering, but I think that's probably all that's going to happen at the moment. Although they do seem to keep making new announcements on a well, sort of twice a month basis or something or other. So
Yeah.
I don't know what else is going to come out of it. They're doing something about it. And I think the other thing is when they had all the grants, first of all, on the solar panels, every Tom, Dick and Harry came out of the woodwork and started going around to old age pensioners and selling solar panels. So I think we're going to have to look out for fraud. And again, it's something that our members will be at the chalk face with. Any of your clients that provide insulation, if you suddenly find they're quadrupling their price or something or other, that sort of thing, you know, it's sort of a moral thing, really, an ethical thing that you need to say to them, well, hold on a minute, how's this working, etc., etc. If you've got any problems with that, come and talk to us. And we do get a lot of calls from people on ethical and moral decisions because, you know, more and more of you are having to make them.
Okay, some questions. Faye, hi Faye. My colleague and I have done the first flexi pay week. If you use the gross wage you've used all along and subtract the calculated work hours gross, the difference we watch your payroll shows is flexi furlough. Yeah, that's right. And that's what the spreadsheet that I put together will do for you. So that's great. Thanks, Faye. Terry's come back and said, oh, hi, Terry. The registration scheme was meant to be available on Monday. Any news? No, I haven't seen anything, but I assume that will be open for registration on Monday. And Suzanne, with regards to the VAT reduction on hospitality, would you expect that holiday letting agents fees would now be subject to 5%, not 20%? The answer to that is I don't know, and I'll have to look into it, but they are fees for the agent's commission services. I think that's probably what you're referring to, Suzanne. And I don't think commission is part of this. It's basically if an individual goes to book a meal at a restaurant, or they go and book something themselves, it's the actual holiday let itself which is coming in at 5%. I've got a funny feeling that any commission between the two may still be 20%, but I'll look into that. Agent lesson.
Depends whether it's part of the overall fee as well, because some it's just they take their bit from the owner, don't they, or wherever.
Yeah.
Some sort of share scheme.
Let me see if I can find that one out and get back to you, Suzanne. Thank you. Knew there'd be one I hadn't prepared for. There always is. You're a clever lot. Okay.
I'm just getting a note here. There's a bill being fast-tracked through Parliament now for the Finance Act due to receive royal assent approximately mid to late July. It will give HMRC powers to raise an income tax assessment where they believe a wrong claim for furlough funds has been made. You have 30 days to own up to an error, in inverted commas. HMRC will talk to staff to see if they've been asked to work when furloughed. You must keep records for 6 years. Yeah. We're going to take the time over this one.
Yeah, we knew the 6 years was in, and I said last week, I think they've got 800 whistleblowing claims that they're looking into from people who have contacted HMRC with saying we don't think these people are doing it correctly. So they've got at least 800 that are on the list that they are waiting for the legislation to go through. So
what's that? So far. So I'm just getting it hot off the press here from my young assistant. What?
No, I was agree with Jackie.
No, it's all right, Jackie. You're getting the nod here. Absolutely spot on there. That's good.
Yeah, thank you. Right. So it's been a busy week, and I would imagine that the HMRC little warren in the background, all the little people burrowing away in the warren in the background, are frantically trying to reprogram everything again this week. Because the Chancellor's made an announcement, and the people that do have got to do it now, make it work. So,
yeah, and it's interesting that some of the tougher people that we've had on the money laundering side from HMRC have now been moved across to this checking side on the furlough.
What a surprise.
I know. They probably think, oh, well, we could probably make more money back that way. But it's obviously...
Well, I mean, we've said before that HMRC, I think, are going to be very, very forceful in their trying to claim all the unpaid tax back, because they've got to try and make it up somewhere. And, you know, yes, there's been stuff in the press about country borrowing or increasing income tax rates or whatever else. But yeah, the tax gap is still very large, and HMRC are working very hard to do that. And this is just, unfortunately, with all the fraud that will go on with this and any other claims, will just exacerbate that one. So.
Yeah, but still. Just to mention, we have got the newsletter going out. That's where your tax calculator, your furlough calculator will be, Jackie.
Yeah.
That should be going out, I think, virtually as we're speaking now, because we send it out to about 40,000 people, so it has to be sent out in stages.
Yeah.
And that will be going out. So that's, folks, that's where you'll be able to find the calculators. Quite a lot crammed into the newsletter this month. We should have had it out yesterday, but we've had a few things that it's always the case when you give a deadline date. Everything happens the hour before you put out your issue. So we've had to change a few things.
Yeah.
But I think you'll find it interesting. I've posted some questions in there about the old hot potato, which is always how much do I charge. We're going to be doing a questionnaire a bit later in the year. I don't know when. It may actually say something in the newsletter, because I haven't seen it since I wrote the article. But we're getting a few people saying, well, you know, members are not charging enough, members are charging too much, all sorts of things going on at the moment. So just to check on that. So that will be one thing to look for. We've also mentioned in there the number of people that have received fines from ICB's compliance department. Over 30 have already been fined, and we've got about the same amount again that are just going through the processes, and that's for being non-compliant after inspection. And also we have about 7 people who have admitted finally that they are running a practice, claim not to know anything about needing to have a practice license, which I'm sure you're sitting there thinking, well, how could they possibly think that? But if any of you who are listening are in practice, you haven't got a practice license, it is a legal requirement. You have to be authorized by us to be in practice. And we also have to authorize your booms, your beneficial owners, officers and managers. So that is going through the system at the moment. And, you know, some people are facing fines of £1,000 plus for not having registered early enough. And if somebody comes to us and says, yes, I am now in practice, we have to find out, we're legally obliged to find out when you started practicing. So if you can't remember or you can't prove it, it goes back to 2007 when we became a money laundering supervisor and a license became necessary, and you'll get charged your practice license fee for each of those years, which is only fair when you think those people who did register in 2007 have been paying it religiously every year. Now, the other thing, just quickly to mention, and I'm always the man with all the good news. I have mentioned it before. We are going to start reminding you before your membership expires. We remind you throughout the month, but then just after the month has finished to say, okay, you must have forgotten to do this. I'm sure you've got plenty on your plate. We need to remind you a little bit earlier, you need to start getting your funds cleared by, to be safe, the 28th of the month of expiry, because HMRC is now asking us to tell them if any of their registered tax agents, our members who are registered tax agents, have gone into arrears, because the tax agent status will stop. I think, Jackie, this is something, I'm not sure if that's what you've been covering in the meetings that you've had, but they are really trying to complete the circle of it, I think, aren't they? You know, the onus is kind of very much down to
in the newsletter, I think I put it in the HMRC update. There's some information on tax agent status there. I've got the first of our big working parties on Tuesday to look at registration for tax agents and how it's going to work, and linking it in with software and the software for your clients, and it's all going to be linked in. So I got the first working party for that coming on Tuesday. So what I've said in the newsletter is that following that, if we need to, we may come out to you to ask for some information from you if we need some statistics. If we can't get it from our system, we may come out and ask or put some ideas to you. people.
On Monday, when the Minister of Small Business, Paul Scully, was on ICB TV, he mentioned that there is a white paper out at the moment. I know you and I have discussed this, and
Yeah.
we've done a submission. I think the deadline for that is actually now the 12th, isn't it? So is that Monday?
The final, no, I think actually that's been put back to the end of August. The one.
Put back. Oh, well, that's good.
Well, certainly
that's
the one I'm working on has gone back. There are so many of them. I know I lose track of the dates.
Yeah, and the deadlines normally seem to be getting a lot quicker nowadays because they want to get legislation through whilst, well, I presume whilst they've got a majority in Parliament, and whilst people are still doing lots for COVID and various other things. So that was interesting. We had a lot of feedback about the discussion with the minister, and I think 99% of it was very positive. And we had a lot of questions afterwards, which we passed on to his office, and those people will be responded to by me at some stage when they come through.
Okay, a couple of questions. I'll read Terry's out in a minute. One from Claire. One of my clients is likely to make redundancies for some people that are already on furlough. They're all on a 3-month notice period. Can they claim back any of these costs as part of the CJRS? Now, I have to say, it's one of those things, I'm going to have to confirm that. My thought processes are, from what I can remember reading, is that yes, they can claim back the furlough claim if they're on notice, but you have to pay them full pay while they're in the notice period. So you can't pay them 80%. I think it's a bit like holidays. I think you've got to pay them their full pay, but I think you can claim back the CJRS scheme. But I will try and check that.
I think that's what Steve Thatcher was on. He was on from FA Sims on Wednesday and very much looking at insolvency, etc. And he was saying the whole point of the loan is not to help you eke out your time and get everybody on furlough. It's got to be for a genuine reason that you think by having that money, you'll be able to run the business. So, you can't really expect to use it to pay furloughed staff that you're going to lay off at the end of the furlough. So again,
yes, I mean, I think this is I think there's a lot of press going on at the moment about some of the large companies who have been making redundancies and what they've been claiming and haven't been claiming. So unfortunately, it's the same for everybody. The rules are the same for all businesses, however large or small.
Yeah, I mean, some of the professional bodies, I've said this before, so I'm having another dig, but, they've got millions sitting in the bank in reserves because they've been around for 40 years or more. Furloughed 20 or 30 staff, they're going to pick up 30 grand to bring them back again, which seems to be a bit wrong, really, but never mind. I think the money should have gone to companies that haven't got money to keep them going, really. You should spend your own money first, but that's just a moral thing. We haven't, guys. We've furloughed nobody. We've had no government money. We've managed to keep going. And actually, we've kept going because all of you still value ICB. You know why you're a member of ICB. And in these tough times, hopefully you've seen we're even more value than ever. And let's face it, you get Jacquie once a week. What more can you ask for?
Oh, quite a lot, I would think.
That's worth the fee.
Claire's come back, said if they're on a 3-month notice, well, we need to claim their furlough element monthly. The company generally would not have made the redundancies if they could have avoided it. Well, the claims from now on have got to be made from the 1st to the end of the month anyway, so they've got to be done monthly. And your claim period starts on the 1st of the month and ends on the last day of the month, so 30th or the 31st. If you're claiming weekly, then you can claim weekly, but your last period, I think, is a period of about 3 days. But if you want to know how the weekly claims go, have a look at the weekly calculations on the spreadsheet, and it actually shows you how the weeks are broken down into each month from now till the end of October. And Terry said, have I ever told you I love my job? Fridays, it doesn't get any easier. No, it certainly doesn't get any easier at the moment, as we all know. And Terry is having a caffeine overload, I think, this morning when I spoke to him to get through the morning.
Okay, it's a Terry or him, is it?
Yeah, Terry Ram. Yes, Terry.
Right. Okay. No. Okay. I thought it
Terry
was the other Terry.
No.
Okay. Morning, Terry. Good afternoon. Sorry. Good afternoon, Terry. And I hope you're doing good. One of our panelists and award winners and various other things there. Good old Terry. Thank you. And for those of you who are really worried about me, yes, tomorrow is the day. Haircut tomorrow. 10:45 tomorrow. It all comes off and I lose all my power. Never mind. And what else have we got here? Couple of things. Obviously, we had Paul Scully and Steve Thatcher this week. Just a few things that are going on next week while Jackie's looking at the questions, getting some answers. On Tuesday, Receipt Bank are doing another one of their webinars for us. They've already got over 230 people booked online, plus some people on the Facebook page, so that's going well. We've then got Gloucestershire, Practice Ignition were in yesterday. That went well apparently, and Lincolnshire yesterday had 30. So that's Lucy, isn't it? Well done, Lucy. And Monday, I have got on as my guest James Ashford from Go Proposal, and that's an app. There's a lot of you using it already, I believe, but it's an app that helps you put together proposals and send out letters to people and tell them how much money you want and what wonderful things you're going to do for them and what you expect from them in return. Also on Monday, we've got the next latest Essex virtual branch meeting, 21 booked for that already. I have to say, our members do tend to book within the last couple of hours of any meeting. Obviously, you've got so much going on in your lives, you can't always book in advance, but that's good to know. Tuesday, Sage is talking about its free learning facilities, the things that it's got available to you free of charge, just to update your skills. Remember, if you do anything like that, come back to us, let us know what you're doing so that you get your CPD for it. Got 150 booked in for that already. East Sussex is also on Tuesday, 19 already booked, and Avon Tuesday, 24 booked. And that's always goes down very well in Avon, and there's a lot of rivalry now between the various virtual meetings, which is really good. I like to see that happening. Wednesday, Oxfordshire, 18 booked for that at the moment, and then we have a latest Practice Ignition on that. Then on Thursday, actually Thursday's Practice Ignition, sorry, and then also the North Yorkshire branch, 12, North Yorkshire. That's a great branch, and June and I have enjoyed being there on a number of occasions. Friday the 17th, Warwickshire have their latest virtual coffee morning, so anybody wants to join them, please come in. 17 booked already. Aberdeenshire on Monday the 20th, 10 booked already there. That's been great because, of course, Aberdeen is one of those areas, and that whole Highlands area, it's very difficult to get people to travel the distance, and we can't run miniature meetings all over the area, but it's gone really, really well during the lockdown period, so that's great. Tuesday the 21st, Practice Ignition again. Now, that's a masterclass, so those of you who've enjoyed the Practice Ignition webinars that we've had so far, that's the icing on the cake, I think. And then the 22nd, West Sussex, and we've actually got 23 booked for that already, so that's Claire doing this stuff again. So great, brilliant. Going really well out there at the moment, I think, the branches and everything else that we're giving to people. So that's fantastic. Great, good to have you with us.
Yes, I'm just going back on that question about redundancy and furlough. While Gary's been talking, I've been doing a quick bit of research online. I think I'm going to change my answer to that. Sorry, I have that privilege. It looks like going back to what Garry said last week, remember that the furlough scheme is to enable you to keep people employed. So if you decide you're going to make them redundant, they can't claim the furlough for them. I will try and get something definite up on the website on the COVID-19 hub for that. We might need to go back to the lady that was on talking about the HR a couple of weeks ago and just get a confirmation of that. But it looks very much as though that is not going to happen. If you make them redundant or they're in the redundancy period, that the CGIS doesn't cover that. So my apologies for that.
No, I mean, I think that was understanding. It was what it says, a job retention scheme.
It was. So if you make them redundant, then you've got to go through the correct redundancy, and therefore you can't furlough them anymore. But we'll try and get some formal advice on that again, because this is going to become more and more prevalent. And we've actually
been corrected. Receipt Bank was earlier this week. Yeah, I think I corrected myself. My notes are scrolled down here. If anybody wants to see that still, there is a recording available, and that will be on the website. So I presume Sophie sent me that. Thank you, Sophie.
Someone's come back and saying, can we have some more payroll HR specific speaker redundancy? So I don't know whether we could perhaps bring somebody back, maybe Hema or Hema could come back, or somebody. because I think we are going to get some more specific questions, and I think it might be good to follow up on that. It's not my area, so we'll need to get someone else in to do that.
Yeah, we have got something planned. Don't think we put a date on it yet because we were waiting to see what was going to happen with the wind down on furlough. So I think we've got a few more bits of information now. So yeah, we'll get somebody back. And if anybody else has anything that you'd like us to cover on ICB TV, please let us know. We are down to 3 days a week at the moment because we've got such a lot going on here that it is difficult to get on the TV for an hour every day. But we are looking at bringing it back as a 5-dayer throughout probably the latter part of this year. But up until then, we'll be doing our 3 days as per normal.
Interesting follow-up from Christine. Thank you, Christine, for this. Where can I access the information on how to calculate what the payment should be for a full-time, term-time only office staff working in a school via an agency? Any information would be greatly appreciated. Well, I would imagine that would be very similar to what you pay them now. If you're paid, I'm assuming if they're working term time only, it depends whether they get paid term time or whether they get paid on across the whole year. And the fact that they work through an agency is going to, I think that depends on who the employer is going to be that deducts the PAYE. Again, I'm sorry about that one. I'm going to have to look into that one.
We've got a lovely note here from Natalie. Now, please excuse me if I get this wrong. I'm not sure if it's botcher or butcher because there's sort of an umlaut over the O, so I'm not sure. Loving Fridays like today, listening to your news, and have just received my membership. It's been approved, and I'm filling in the practice application right now. Fantastic. And fantastic support. And she gives us a thumbs up, so that's good. Great.
And Christine's come back and said they're paid term time only. Well, if their contract is that they're only paid term time only, and they normally don't get paid for holidays, then I don't think they could be paid for holidays anyway, even though the scheme, that's a difficult one.
If they normally get holiday pay, I think it's all right. But if they are not holidays for some, I don't know how they do that because
nil payments during the holiday periods. So if their standard contract is that they get paid term time and they've been furloughed, it depends how the furlough claim's been worked out up until now, because that's a variable salary one, and the rules have always been that it would be the higher of the relevant month or the average over the past 12 months. That's interesting, because if they've been furloughed and you've taken the average over the past 12 months or the month, then what they're doing is they're getting, say, 9 or 10 months pay, and you've averaged it over 12 months. So I think, difficult one, that one. I think you might have to speak to the agency that actually employs them. Nil payments during holiday periods. Maggie's come back. So where can I find the flexible working spreadsheet? Thank you. It's Maggie, it's going to come out in the newsletter today.
Yeah.
So, and if you've Maggie, if you've got any queries, you've got my contact details. Come back to me, and
then it'll be on the website, so it'll always be available
as well. And can I just point out that although I think it works, and I've tested it, please be aware that it's only a guidance into how the calculations are. You must make sure that if you're actually using those figures, please do check them on the HMRC calculator, because I would hate for us, it's a disclaimer here. It's my guidance that you asked for after I used my figures last week as to how you can work out and to explain how it's going to work. But particularly with the weekly ones, it does say that in the newsletter. Please be very careful if you use it to base your actual claims on.
Yeah, and we've said that to HMRC. If they're going to use
Maggie says ignore that, she's found it. So it's obviously available up there.
Great, fantastic.
My client with school nursery has done 43 weeks times hours times hourly rate divided by 12 and use that as furloughs. She's going to pay holidays separately. So yeah, I've been speaking to some of the early years people about holidays, and
We had quite a good nice feedback from the day that we got our council on to run ICB TV for a day. Paula Vesey-Smith and the council members. We're thinking of doing one of those again. We've actually got a council meeting next week, so I'm just wondering whether we might be able to squeeze something in. But anyway, we'll have a look. The council are there to provide a conduit for every member through to the institute. I mean, you can ring us direct, obviously, but if you want to talk to other people about what's going on and how it affects you, then council are the people to do that. They're all sort of elected on there. So, actually, some elections coming up at the end of this year. So if anybody fancies going on to council, you'll get the vacancies. I think they'll be notified around September time. There'll be an election just after summit. And then anybody elected for the first time will have their first council meeting in January. So keep an eye on that, and it'll tell you all about it, how to get involved and what it does, etc., etc. Really, really helpful to ICB. Keeps the hand on the tiller, as they say.
Right, there's a very interesting comment in from Lynn Tim. Thank you, Lynn. This is about our redundancy and whether you can claim. Now, this is an interesting, doubled it back again. One of my clients has an HR company who provides advice. They are making 2 staff redundant who have been on furlough. The HR company has advised that they can use the CJRS scheme to contribute to the cost of their notice, as it will help to protect the jobs of other employees.
Oh, I think that's bending it a little.
You're bending it a little is right. I think what we have to do now is we have to go away and try and get a definitive answer on this and come back to you early next week with this. Because the redundancy is going to start, if they haven't done it, well, people are starting to look at redundancy now so that the redundancies can be in place by August when you have to start paying contributions towards the scheme. The NI and pensions contributions kick in on the 1st of August. So,
I think there will be a lot of interpretations of everything that's been going on at the moment. So again, as Jackie's already said, if you have done something with the best will in the world and you think it's right and you can hold your hand on your heart and say you felt it was right, you know, the chances are that will be taken as read, but not if you've done something which is completely against the principle.
No, that's right. I mean, close calculations that you've done that you've justified, as long as they're not way out, then, and please don't come back and say how far out is way out, because the answer is I don't know.
Yeah.
And if in doubt, go and use the HMRC calculator, because you can use their figures as actuals, and they will accept your calculations if they're slightly different, but the HMRC calculator is there for you. Right, so I've got 2 going through with the thread. Christine's thread is on the part-time school wages and the one on redundancies. So I'm actually going to take those 2 away and get back to you both on that one, I think.
I've got an interesting one for you here. Michael Stopford, do you think furloughed sole directors will be eligible for the £1,000 bonus? Nobody said it was going to be easy, Jackie.
No, I know. No, nothing's ever easy these days, Gary, I tell you.
Well, if you've got the furlough, yes. I mean,
it depends what they're paying themselves. Now, we spoke about this last week. You have to think about this, because if you've got a director, they have to pay themselves a minimum of £512, which is the lower earnings limit, from the 1st of November to the end of December. And if they are coming back to work, they must have been furloughed. We've got the issue at the moment of part-time furloughing, because how do you part-time furlough a director and know what they're doing? So I think we were saying last week that if you've had a director on furlough, that was easy, because we knew that they could do anything that didn't generate income from the business. So that was straightforward. Flexible furlough, I think, is very, very complex for one of these direct owner managers. Because if you're back working, how do you know how many hours you're going to work? Now, if you're back working and you're not going to do that, and you're on PAYE, my gut reaction at the moment is yes, they might be, but we'll have to wait for the detail on that one. I'll put that in my system and see what comes out.
There are 4 or 5 people from Walsall who have just been let out on remand. They're probably going to be claiming it as we speak. Anyway, Harriet Belafonte, the pseudonym mentioned Harriet Belafonte. Do you think nurseries will be eligible for the £1,000 bonus?
Again,
we've only been able to claim the CJRS for the percentage of our staff that are attributable to private income, even though we furloughed all of them.
Again, I'm going to have to add that one onto the list because this is so new. We haven't seen the detail yet, and these will come back out. The question is whether they're going back to work in September or in August or September, and they're being kept on to keep them in work, or whether there is actually work for them. So. I will add that to my growing list of questions. Sorry about this, folks. It's all very new, and I've only got the information that the Chancellor gave out on Wednesday, so we're going to have to wait for the detail. So the other one is nurseries.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
The system.
So we've had some strange questions in. Somebody says, can you give us any hints what to watch on Netflix for the weekend? Any ideas, Jacquie? We're running sort of ideas, but I think we've done everything it says. Well, I'll give you a few hints. One you ought to look at, those who haven't already seen it, Keeping Mum. That's got Rowan Atkinson, Maggie Smith, Kirsten Scott Thomason. It's a really, really funny film. An English film, so it's English humour, but it's really, really funny. You should see that. June's favourite is House Sitter. I don't know if everybody ever watched House Sitter with Goldie Hawn and Steve Martin. Again, a very funny film. And one to look at, and it probably won't mean anything to everybody, but it's called The Healer. And it's a slightly sickly film. It's definitely a family film, but it's got Jonathan Pryce in it, some completely unknown actors. But again, it's called The Healer. But what you have to do is watch it to the very end, because there's a special dedication given by the director, Paco Arango. I'd never heard of him either, as to why he made the film. And it came about because of the question, was it a true story? So watch the film, and if you can put up with it throughout, it's nice enough, but it's a bit soppy. But don't forget to wait for the dedication, and I'll talk to you on Monday and see what you thought about it.
Okay. Oh, I thought we were going to get some more questions on this today. You've obviously reading on a Friday.
Oh, Pauline Chapman says Designated Survivor on Netflix. Paul, I was thinking of sort of an hourly watch, not a 6-hour complete run of things. But yeah, Designated Survivor is worth watching, and makes you appreciate that we need to be very careful who is the designated survivor. Yeah, anyway.
Any comment.
No comment, no. We're not political here.
I was going to say, just be careful with Netflix series, because I some time ago, I picked up a first series or something. I was really into it. And I was getting towards the end of the first series, thinking, oh, this is great. What else is going to happen? Then I realised there were 13 series that had all been put up on Netflix at the same time.
Yeah. We watched something called The Detectorists, which is about people who wander around the country with metal detectors.
Yeah.
And it's quite a slow-going thing. Again, it's English, and it's written by the guy that was in The Office, the big tall guy that was also in Pirates of the Caribbean. It is quite funny. That's another one to go for. It's a bit frustrating, but I won't tell you whether it comes good at the end or not. But it's good to watch. See, we do all sorts in here. We're not just here for furloughs and various other.
It's Friday. It's always a bit light-hearted on a Friday.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And,
it's almost 4 o'clock, so it always gets even lighter after 4 o'clock. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
I think I don't have any more questions. I don't think, unless there's one at the bottom that I can't see on the screen. No, so I've got 3 or 4 queries to take away, and we'll try and get back to you next week. Not quite sure how we're going to get the information out to you, but we'll sort something out for you.
Right. I was just thinking I might get an answer on something, but it's not coming through. We can next week. Right, I'm just asking Paula Vesey-Smith. Actually, if you're listening, Paula, or anybody else from council, I'm just asking if you want to come on next week and do your bit prior to council. I know you're all busy and you're going to be tied up with council meeting, but yeah, it'd be nice to know what you're all thinking about and talking about at the moment. A lot going on, I know, for you as well. But anyway, see how that goes. So, if I think most of those questions then, Jackie, I mean, we've had, hang on,
I've just realised there are questions coming in, but they're not coming in at the end. They're bumping in halfway through the list, so I'm missing them. I do apologise.
Well, I was wondering why the number kept going up.
And yet I was at the bottom, and I suddenly realised my screen's jumping, and they're all coming in above. Apparently, someone said Martin Lewis. I didn't see Martin Lewis last night. Said that yes, read the directors. So yes, he thinks you can. The font of all knowledge says that directors should be able to claim the grant. One of my, Claire, sorry, I haven't seen any of these. I do apologise. One of my clients is self-employed and did not claim SACE in the first round because they weren't sure if there was going to be a downturn in their income. They now see that there definitely is going to be and want to claim for the second round only. Can they do this in August just for the second round if they've not claimed? Yes, they can. They don't have to claim for the first claim. They can just claim for the second claim. That's definitely in the guidance. So if they now find that they're being hit by the downturn, they don't want to make the first claim, they go online, they register, they do it. The same thing applies if you haven't registered for the first claim. You've got to get all the information that you need. So
Suzanne Proctor has been on to say the Aberdeenshire branch meeting on the 20th of July, their subject is employment law. So they'll obviously have all the answers available then. So, oh, Jackie's on the phone. That's, so I'll answer that one. So that's good. Thank you for that, Suzanne.
Sorry, I'm back now.
Numbers there. That's fine. Oh, and Morris Leach says, can't seem to book West Sussex branch webinar on 22nd July. Add to basket, buttons missing on website. Well, I don't think it's anything personal, Morris. I will get Sobi to, she's probably working on this as we speak, but I'll get Sobi to do something about that and get back to you. Certainly don't wish to discourage you, unless they've reached their maximum number already. I mean, knowing West Sussex, they might have done. But look, we'll get back to you whichever way. Maggie, where can I find the flexible work?
Yeah, we've got that one.
I've asked for when, I've just asked when the newsletter will be going out. I've asked Amy Copeland, because obviously she's the one that sort of sets that all up, and she's come back with a very exact timing, soonish. So I think it's coming out as we speak. Unfortunately, we've had to change such a lot because it's been superseded by what's been going on while we've been getting it all set up, that we've had to change a few things. But I think she's setting it up now. So look in your inbox, please, and it'll be out. Joanne Crompton, I'm filling in my practice application right now too. Just waiting on my DBS. I wasn't going to take the plunge, but I changed my mind thanks to the support from ICB. Well, it's nice to know we're supporting you. And as I've already said, we've got some big things coming up over the next couple of months, which will help you as well. We've got a specialist actually coming in who does support when people are first setting up their business. So he'll be joining us, I think now it's the 5th of August. So he'll need the rest of that week to get his feet under the table. So by, let's say mid-August, he'll be ringing you around, asking how things are going, helping you out with that, and making all sorts of suggestions to which way to go and how we can help you. Yeah, so I think that'll be good. Did you do the Kiwis? Yeah, these have got a bit mixed up. So if you done Kiwis,
yeah, it's weird. I don't quite know what's happened here. Steph Busby's just come back and said, thank you for the reminder, read the practice license. Just paid, that will be number 5. So thank you, Steph, for that. Claire, I think I've answered your SACE question. Kiwi 66, what is the notice period to start redundancies? That's an HR question, and I have to say I don't know the answer to that because I don't do very much on redundancy.
No, we do have, I mean, our helpline will help you on redundancy, because the lady that came on and spoke to us, whose name I've forgotten, Jackie?
Hamer.
Hamer, that's right. She actually works for our helpline. She's with a company called Quest that we use on that. So they will help you on that. You need to be very careful with redundancies. You won't get away with not doing it right because of furlough. So, you know, you have to have consultation meetings. You have to tell the employees what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And if you do everything right, then both sides should come out of this relatively unscathed. And I say relatively, but...
Yeah, but you do have to follow, and you also still have to give justifications, and you also have to make sure who you're making redundant. So the member who's got a client that's making 2 redundancies, then I hope that they've done their due diligence process. The fact that then, you know, that who they're selecting for redundancy is very important, that there's no discrimination or anything there at all.
It's nice that we've had Busby Books with us for 5 years, isn't it? Isn't that good?
Yeah.
Well done, you. We're actually changing our database over. We have a database called Sedalis, which was written for us, and it's starting to limp a little bit under the pressure. So we're having it completely rejigged, and that'll be out, I think, the end of August, I think it's going to be. And one of the things we're going to do that is we'll be able to list on there how long you've been in practice for, and so we can send you a nice little message when you reach your 5 years and your 10 years and what have you. So I'm sorry, Steph, you're going to miss out on that one, but you've got a personal congratulations from the president. So what more do you want? Thank you very much.
Did you see the message from Suzanne? Aberdeen branch meeting on the 20th of July,
Yeah.
having employment law as the subject. Did you read that one? Sorry, I missed. I think it was probably when I was...
No, sorry, I was talking while you were reading, I think. So yeah. I've got the same problem. I can't remember whether I've
Sorry about that. Okay, I think...
currently being paid 30% north of wage.
We've
Right.
probably got most of them now.
Okay, well, don't forget, folks, we've got a very busy week next week. We've got lots on. We've got ICB TV. We've got various webinars going on. I won't go through the dates again in case I get them wrong, but they're all on the website. They're all there for you. You can all book in. Obviously, they're very expensive because they cost you nothing, but it does take up your time. But most of them are recorded, so you can get them later. You can even watch this program again if you want to. You can do that through the ICB Facebook page. I was just looking back, even the one on insolvency, which it's not the most popular of subjects. If you look at Facebook, I'm looking at it last night. I think we got just over 400 people through Facebook. So add that to the people that were on the main coming through the database. You know, we've still got 500 people interested in something like that. So these are really great numbers, and most of the other bodies are really jealous of the fact that we keep bringing in our members in this way. So we're very, very pleased about that. Thank you all for your help and your support.
There's one quick one coming, Gary, on from Facebook, I think. Pauline Chapman, one of my clients has had a pregnant employee shielding and is now coming back into work. However, she has said that she is having problems driving and doesn't feel she can work. What happens in this instance? The guidance is still saying, please work from home if you can, if it's feasible. And if you're coming into work, you have to be given all the protections that should be put in place. So the social distancing and everything else. If the reason is that she doesn't feel she wants to drive and doesn't feel she can work, and the company is working, I have a feeling that that might be a case that she's actually saying, I'm sorry, I can't work. But you'd have to have a look into that.
Yeah.
Unless there is a particular shielding and the shielding still applies. Although people who are shielding can go out now.
And nurseries are now available, so I think
nurseries
the
are available.
Being whittled away at very slowly. So
I mean, I have to say, she said she's having problems driving and doesn't feel she can work. And although the government is saying, please don't use public transport unless you have to, obviously there are people who can't and don't drive. And it depends on the reason she was shielding, I think, as to whether she would feel safe to come in on public transport. To be honest, I think that's a legal one. I think we can only, I can only answer questions on well, most
Ring the helpline,
Yeah.
ask for the legal helpline, because
Yeah.
that's what it's there for. And I know they'll talk to you, and they'll also send you crib sheets and various other things. So you need to get that sort of thing right, obviously. And on the positive side of people coming out of maternity leave, we are very pleased to have back with us now Namisha, who a lot of you will know. She came back last week, I think it was, and she's now doing 3 days, and the other 2 days she's looking after her lovely little bee. And yeah, she's doing a really good job. And funny enough, it's something that's cropped up with her, and I had a conversation yesterday with a lady, nothing to do with us, but an organisation I'm working with on behalf of ICB, and she was saying that she's at home with her 1-year-old, so I had to ring at a particular time because that's when the baby went down. And the first thing she said to me was, "Oh, look, you've got to bear with me because I'm suffering from baby head." So I'm not supposed to say things like this because I'm a fella and I don't understand these things, but I want to try and look at whether or not baby head is actually a real phenomenon. How did you get through having babies and coming back to work? Because, are we helping enough when you come back to work? I mean, I like to think we are helping Namisha. She'll tell us whether we are or not. But if this is a real phenomenon, I think it's something we ought to make allowances for and work towards. So drop me a line, Garry Carter, all one word, 2 R's in the Garry, don't forget that, very proud of my R's, Garry Carter at icbglobal.org. And I'm, careful how I'm saying that, because I appreciate it's a sexist thing, but it's not. It's a genuine interest, actually, because, most of you know my daughter, Amy. She's had 2 children. Her water broke while sitting in the office, in the ICB office. So we know what it's all about. And, it is difficult sometimes to get back into a work environment when you've been talking to a 1-year-old for 12 months or something like. So, just drop us a line. I mean, 80% of our members are women, so you should all know what it's all about out there. So let's find out what's going on. And just to be fair, any of the men that are finding it difficult from, I don't know, how have you come into us, quite through redundancy or deciding to have a change later in life, let's hear from you as well.
I mean, I think there are 2 issues. To be honest, Garry, there are 2 issues there. There's the issue of having actually gone through the pregnancy and having a baby, which does change you, but there are also the childcare, which is very different, and that's where the males come in, because a lot of the males will be the main carer, running the backwards and forwards and things. So I think there's one is definitely hormonal, and the other one is how do you actually cope with the support systems that are in place.
Yeah, it's something that people don't talk about very often, so, but I think it's a conversation we should have, actually, for our members. I mean, my babies are 37 and 39. How old are you? I don't ask you.
Slightly older than yours, but I mean, I must admit, when I had mine, it wasn't the done thing to go back to work. When I went on maternity leave, I resigned and I left, and I was on, on maternity pay and things. But I then didn't go back to work. I stayed at home for, I think, about 4 years until my daughter was small, and then I went back part time into something completely different.
I remember when June was pregnant, she didn't take maternity leave pay because we thought, well, we don't want to go on benefits. Stupid as we were, we found out some years later that it also meant that she hadn't had her national insurance paid all the time that she wasn't working. So an extra couple of years before pension will have to be worked.
I mean, actually, Garry, there's something coming on the question answer. I think this is what you mentioned at the very, very beginning. A West Midlands man has been arrested in connection with a suspected £495,000 fraud involving the government CGRS scheme, the first action over potential furlough fraud. That's what I think we were saying, that the fraud at the moment, they're going for the big boys, the real fraudulent cases, the small amounts where you've done your work as best you can, you've justified what you've done, and go back and change your error, make your errors. You've got 30 days to correct it. I know that there are members who have done the calculation in the first month or so with their clients and then decided that they have overclaimed for whatever reason and are already going through notifying and paying the money back. I've spoken to at least 2 members who have been in that situation, and they've gone through and they pressed the button, yes, we want to pay back, because they felt they'd either claimed incorrectly or they claimed where perhaps they shouldn't have done, and they don't want to get caught out at a later stage. So we've got 2
I don't think 495,000 comes under the bracket of a slip.
I don't think that comes back as under the slight miscalculation rule. No, that's That's, I would imagine, is a whistleblower where perhaps they've been furloughing and people have been made to work. There's a lot of companies in certain parts of the country where workers have been asked to carry on working even though officially they've been on furlough. So I think that sounds as though that might be something along that line.
And don't forget, ICB's got a whistleblower line if you want to report your employer or another member of ICB or something like that. You can talk directly to our compliance department, but if you'd rather do it through a whistleblower line, to be honest, it goes to the same people, but it's just a different telephone number and it's all confidential. But if it's something which is not about a client, it's not about a practice, but I don't know, your employer is making you work when you know you're being furloughed or whatever, anything like that at all, we're there to help. As we are the institute, and that word institute means a lot of different things to different people, so we're getting a lot of calls from non-ICB members, and we're doing our best to handle them as well. We've had 2 recently that were ACCA matters, I think. So we don't get many calls on that, but it's there and it's a service we offer. So if you know somebody that's got a problem and they need some help, then they can come through on that line as well. So just another string to the ICB bow, as they say. So Jackie, I think time has come for us to bid farewell.
I've just realised what's gone wrong with our questioning system. I think we've caught up now.
Right.
Claire Share has said, really sorry, need to leave for appointment. Thanks for the episode. So I think we have covered everything. So I will look into the, I've got 3 or 4 main queries that I will look into. I'm sorry I haven't got firm answers for you today, but I will try and get back to you as soon as possible. And yeah, I think that's probably everything.
Just had a note back from Alex, who is our man that looks after our newsletter for us and makes sure it all fits in shape, just saying it's ready to go, but he's just waiting for clearance on an article that he's written. As soon as that's been cleared, he hopes that'll be very shortly. It will be out. So it should be good tea time reading. So please look out for that. And if any of you've got anything, not just for ICB TV, but anything you think you'd like to see in the newsletter, or anything you can contribute to the newsletter, you know, Jackie writes for the newsletter, Paula writes the newsletter, I do it, but we will take articles from anybody, really. If you think you've got something to say, please let us know. I hope you all have a great weekend. You've got 3 films there to look at least, and a couple of other things we've mentioned. So I'll hope on Monday you've got lots to tell me about the films. You think they're a good choice. And yeah, we'll see you then. So Jackie, thank you very much again for coming along. It's always good value, and we'll see what happens in the week so that we'll see you back on Friday.
Yep, I'll be here next Friday. Thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, everybody. Great weekend. Bye.